Our scheme, we called it the Heritage Scheme Plan because we want to build on the idea of the heritage of the community. And what we've done is kind of like the simplest possible intervention that you can come up with. We determined that phase one would be in this bar here. We would keep the existing, what is this called, the museums and the baseball field, and then you can see phase two is outlined as red. So, yeah. So in terms of, can you bring up the next one? So this very simple division then has a functional implication. You can see what was phase one. We're calling it a community activity. This is where all the community functions would happen. Phase, this existing bar in the middle, we're thinking in phase two of expanding that and really creating an orchard idea in the middle, and then up at the top would be the community governing functions. The next diagram shows how the different buildings might lay out in this idea of the three bars that you saw. You can see in one corner we are locating all the recreational fields. At the bottom here, we're putting the community center and then a mall that connects through the orchard and the farm that we're calling up to the library and the governing functions of the community. And so we're in effect, creating a very simple diagram. But you can see that we have these pedestrian connections really on a cross. We're connecting in the same way that the other scheme was shown. And then we're bringing the orchard farm back. That whole thing in the middle would be basically rely on some very fantastic landscaping. When it becomes a park and all the cultural activities would happen in the center of it, bracketed by civic and recreational and civic and governmental functions. So exactly how this lays out is going to be explained by Noel.
Okay. Yes. So, like you said, our concept was we have this fabulous resource here, which is the History House, the museum, and the sort of cultural center, and we really wanted to create what we would call a miniature version of the Washington Mall. Really, it's a statement where anybody going by in San Antonio sort of has to stop and go, "Wow, look at that! What is that?" And it really draws you in. And then the actual functional public spaces are the plaza here and a plaza here at the end of the phase two. Our phase one plan leaves all of this, for the most part, the way that it is, and we take the soccer field and we're placing the community center and theater here, and all of those spill out onto the central plazas, connecting with the History House. We also have, this is a two-story building, but this is actually open underneath, so you can walk through, you can see through into the central plaza, and then the second story above here is almost a bridge. And we do have, this is circulation and parking. We have an underground parking garage, about 200 cars here, entered here, so you can either get here from here or here. And then these are still surface lots for right here for the soccer field and the baseball diamond, and then the play yard in between, and the pool. And the pool is located next to the buildings because of locker rooms and the physical connections to the inside. And again, in phase two, we're relocating the orchard, taking the library out and arranging the library and the city hall up here. Police station gets expanded, and we're creating another plaza here. The one thing that struck us about walking through the site is that there's very little connectivity, public space between the buildings. There's basically parking lots that you walk through and a few pathways through the orchard. And we were going to create some there. So that's the idea of this big central plaza, or central orchard, which honors the history part of it, and then we've got the government function here and the community activity function here. Yeah, and then this is a real quick rough sketch basically from here with the orchard on the left and the history museum over here, and then, you know, our new building over here, the new community center. And
I just wanted to make a couple other comments in addition to what Noel has said, and that is the importance that we heard anyway of that connection back to the downtown. And I know we're dealing with a very difficult issue with San Antonio, and there are many ways that, depending on budget, may be accomplished. But what we're thinking about, at least in the beginning, is to start to make this connection very clear, and then in the future phases, really open it up so that this becomes then the visual connection as well as hopefully a physical connection from downtown to this site. We even talked about how maybe the Art and Wine Festival could actually spill out across here and become part of this central space, you know, keeping the cars out for that day, for instance. And the idea that this can be a multifunctional space for various kinds of community activities, and that link is so important. At least that's what we've been discussing.
And we even had some pretty radical ideas of actually, you know, the new hotel that's being built, the little French building here, stays obviously, but we, she did a wonderful job, as she always does. But to the last building that's in the sort of jumble of curved buildings that goes, you know, along Main Street, that you know, is our idea. It's a radical idea that it comes out, stealing some from Haussmann when he redesigned Paris, and closing off this little bit of street here, and so this is a connection to Fourth and to Main, and you know, maybe we can give that back to her.